Hi guys, and welcome back to Garden of Kayland. Hey guys, I'm Kayla and welcome back. If you're new here, welcome, and be sure to subscribe if plants are your vibe. Now, not too long ago I did a video about plants for beginners, and I think y'all have had enough time to take it to the next level. So if you're like, okay, I got the basics down, what's next? This video is for you. I'm just saying, spice things up a little bit. That's all. That's all. If you're ready to exit the beginner stage and move on to some more intermediate plants, here are a few that will work for you. Number one is the ficus. I feel like a ficus is one that you really love and don't understand what all the drama is about, or you just really hate it and you can't get them to do right. I kind of straddle somewhere right in the middle of that. This is one of maybe 3 that I have, and it is the Ficus Elastica. I'm gonna put it down now because it's kind of heavy. You can still see it though, it's here. The ficus is one, I'm not gonna lie, that can be a little bit fiddle. See what I did there? Like the fiddle leaf fig. This is the Elastica. I don't actually have the Ficus lyrata, which is the fiddle leaf fig, because, well, let me explain. It died. So, but for the Ficus Elastica, I feel like this is a good plant for somebody ready to move to the next step. I don't see a lot of big like floor plants that I think are great for beginners. I think beginners can have them, don't get me wrong, but I just wouldn't recommend many of them that I see that are easily accessible. So I feel like the Ficus Elastica is easy as long as you don't overwater it or move it. I wait until this ficus is completely dried out before I water it again. When I do water it, I give it a good deep watering, and it's doing just fine that way. But if I move this ficus from, let's say, this side of the room to maybe underneath the TV back there, it will drop leaves so fast. They just don't like to be fussed over or moved that often. I will lose leaves when I repot them as well, but I don't have to repot them, but every 2 years or so, depending on where I have it in the house, how much it's growing. Honestly, my indicator of when a plant needs to be repotted is when I lift it up and I see the roots growing out the bottom. That's my indicator. Probably not the best indicator, but it's working out for me, so okay. And they come in so many different varieties, different colors, and I think they all look really good, honestly. But this one just holds a special place in my heart because it has those dark leaves. Another thing about the ficus is they accumulate a lot of dust on the leaves. So just make sure you're, periodically, if you walk past it and you see dust, like I see dust right now, wipe the leaves off. I just use a paper towel, like a damp paper towel, and just wipe the leaves off top and bottom, and I've had no problems. So this is a good plant to put in like medium to bright indirect sunlight. They'll do okay. I've learned that they do okay in darker spots as well, but just their growth is really slow and it's just a no. They'll do okay, but they won't thrive, So the ficus is definitely on my list of plants for not necessarily beginners and not somebody who's been doing this a while. So it's a good intermediate plant. Next on the list of intermediate plants is the Monstera. Monsteras could be deemed as easy, but just from my personal experience, I have come across a few issues with them, which is why I'm deeming them intermediate, because I feel like if you get it as a beginner and it dies, you will feel like you have a brown thumb and just give up completely. I don't know where I get this train of thought from, but that's just what I think. Anyway, so this is my Monstera stanleyana. This will do okay without a moss pole, but I really feel like the leaves will get larger and just all around look better. Like, this is variegated. I think it's so cool. I think they'll get bigger and look better if you do have them climbing, if it's like a plant that will climb. It's just something for the roots to attach to so that it can climb up the same way it would do in nature. And here's one that I don't have on a moss pole. This is actually from the cutting that I got from the one on the pole. It's basically just one little piece in there, but it does have another one coming out right here, so that's a plus. This is my Monstera Thai consolation. It's in leca right now. The reason I have it in leca is because they are synonymous for root rot, and I don't have time for that. And it's got a new leaf coming in right there, which is really exciting because it wasn't doing anything or growing any new leaves for about 4 months. So it was stressing me out, but it was looking okay. This is how I know when a plant needs to be repotted. Look at this. Oh, and I see some root rot in there. Another Monstera is this really cool and cute Monstera Sua Pakana. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the contrast of colors. I think that it's just really breathtaking. So I think I have about 6 different types of Monsteras, and the Sua Pakana is definitely hands down my absolute favorite. Next is the Alocasia. Alocasias for me for a minute were really difficult, but I'm learning that the ones with waxier, more shiny textures and the thicker leaves, as opposed to like the velvety, thinner leaves, have just been a little bit easier for me. Maybe I'm just like learning how to care for alocasias a little bit better now. I am learning a lot about them, so I feel like I'm doing better with them. This is my Alocasia scalprum. It is so gorgeous. These leaves get darker and darker until they're nearly black, which I'm still waiting on. It's been pushing out new leaves left and right. This is the newest one. And as you can see, they're starting to get bigger and better. This is actually newer as well, and it's still kind of hardening off. But oh my goodness, I have not killed this. I moved a lot of my alocasias to pond because they were just getting way too difficult for me, but I figured something out a little bit. Now, alocasias don't like to dry out completely. They don't want dry feet, but they don't want to sit in water either. If I keep them in a humid environment and I just leave the soil alone until it is completely dry, that has been working out. So this one is being kept in my greenhouse cabinet right now, and the humidity is about 80%. I do have some alocasias that aren't in my greenhouse cabinet, and that rule still kind of applies. So I'm not letting the ones outside of the cabinet dry out completely, but I'm letting them dry out a whole lot more than I previously was. And then when I do water them, I'm bottom watering them. So alocasias take a little bit more care, which is why I think they're good intermediate plants. I feel like when you have them in your home and you figure out the formula for them in your home, then they'll start thriving. It's just kind of a trial and error type thing. But I found this one recently and I thought that it looked so cool. Look at the underside of the leaves. Do you see what color it is? Do you know how I feel about red? Okay, anyway. So yeah, this one's been doing really good. I got it maybe a month or 2 ago, and it had a new leaf unfurling when I first got it, and it's since pushed out this one right here, which I think is really neat. I feel like it's gonna be bigger than it is right now. I feel like it's gonna, as it hardens off, it's gonna size up a little bit. I don't have a lot of experience with this one, but I do have it in soil, and this is just really chunky air void mix that I pre-mixed myself. And I keep this one in a greenhouse cabinet as well, except for it's in my bedroom, and the humidity is maybe 60% usually, and it seems to like that. I wait until this soil dries out almost completely, and then I bottom water it. So I think I'm starting to really get the hang of things now. And then because I'm experimenting with alocasias right now, I keep one in just the ambient humidity, so I don't have it in any cabinets. I just have it sitting out. And here it is. Isn't this really cool, you guys? I thought this was so neat when I first got it, how the leaves are so whimsical like this, and the leaves were shiny, they weren't velvety, so I figured, okay, I can do this. But it does make me wonder if I had put it, or if I do put it in one of the greenhouse cabinets where the humidity is higher and more constant and it's temperature controlled, if it would start pushing out some new leaves. But this one I thought looks pretty cool with even just these 2 leaves on it, and I have it just right here, so it's not getting like really bright light or anything like that. So I don't know, but we're gonna see. So I'm a really huge philodendron fan, but there are a few that I think are extremely difficult, or have been extremely difficult for me, like the Varicosum. But there are a few that I feel like aren't super basic and aren't super difficult, and kind of fall right in between. And I feel like if you want to spice things up and kind of move on to some of the more rare philodendrons, that these are some really good intermediate ones. This is the Philodendron Painted Lady. I got this for like 40 bucks back in April, which at the time was a really good price. Actually, I still think it's a really good price. I got it really big, and the really big one was not as easy as it looked. So this looks like a pretty hardy plant. It's very shiny. The leaves are a good size. They'll get bigger, and it died. I could not get it to bounce back at all. It was insane. I have no idea what I did. I was watering. I don't know. I don't know. It happened after I repotted it, and I repotted it in the spring, but I had a really small little baby one at home. This is with the really small one that only had like 3 leaves. is looking like now. I put this one in a really chunky air void mix as well, slapped a moss pole in, and I've just been really delicately handling it. I'm really glad that I had 2 of them so I could kind of see and compare what it liked and what it didn't like, and it somehow worked out. So the Painted Lady is one that's pretty coveted, I think, still, or at least it was. I don't know where we are now with the Painted Lady. In the summertime, these leaves look, well, painted. Definitely don't recommend for beginners. And then you've got your velvety philodendrons like this El Choco Red or Rubri Juvenile. I'm still calling it El Choco Red. This one is definitely on my top 5 favorite plants ever. So these want some good humidity. They don't do well in direct sunlight or it will scorch the leaves. They don't want to be under or over watered. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's just that I will water these only when they're about 75% dry, and I keep them in about 60% humidity. Now, if I had them in lower humidity, I wouldn't have them in lower humidity. Let me just say that. So if I had them in a warmer, more humid environment, like in one of the greenhouse cabinets, they would do better and grow faster and have bigger leaves probably by now. But I didn't want to put them in a cabinet and then they outgrow it and I take it out and they go into complete shock and I lose all the leaves that I have worked so hard and waited so long on. So I figured I would kind of start them out where they were gonna live. So I have this here in my bedroom. I just have a little humidifier that I keep by it. Sometimes it gets up to, 82, 83%. But that's not a constant, and maybe that does help. And I have it on a moss pole, which isn't really serving any purpose at the exact moment, but when I keep it moist, it does kind of boost humidity for it. So I think that helps. Like I said, some of them are harder than others. I feel like this one is on the intermediate level for sure. And it's red in the back. It doesn't stay that way, but it looks really cool while it is there. And I even have a new leaf coming in right there. You see how red it is? It's the only red thing on here, right here. So you can't miss it. So it does have a new leaf coming in, which is really exciting for me. I've lost a leaf or 2 and I lost a little bit of this leaf due to over fertilizing. So I fertilized the plant when it was completely dry, which is a big no-no, especially on these. But other than that, it has been really resilient and carefree. I haven't even had pests on this, which this looks like something that would be a pest magnet, but it's not. Another trick about your very hard philodendrons is if you get it as a hybrid, like this is a Varicosum hybrid. Now the Varicosum is very difficult, but when you get it as a hybrid, for some reason, it is suddenly not so hard. So this is my philodendron monkey tail, which is a fibrosum and a Varicosum hybrid. And this has been doing so well for me. It has a new leaf coming in. I didn't have to deal with any shock when I brought it home. I have it growing in sphagnum moss right now because when I see the name Varicosum, it came in moss. And when I saw the name Varicosum, I immediately went into super care mode and didn't want to put it in any different medium other than what it came in. So typically I wouldn't be growing a plant like this in sphagnum moss. I would just go ahead and put it in my air void mix. But anywho, got it up on a moss pole. It hasn't attached to the moss pole yet, but it's on its way up. And I feel like if you see a plant that you really want, but you're unsure about if you can care for it, especially when it's, about to cost you a pretty penny, I feel like you can kind of experiment with a hybrid of that plant and see how you do with that and then move on to the next level. I feel like it's a real good buffer in between and turns a heart plant into an intermediate plant real fast. I think the Anthurium is another really good intermediate plant that is even better when you get a hybrid. This is my Anthurium Mag Lux that is obviously a hybrid and doing really well. It's also got really hardy looking leaves that I felt more comfortable with and felt like I would do a little bit better with. In my experience, these kind of do okay without really high humidity. When I see leaves like this, I feel like, okay, I don't have to put it in the greenhouse cabinet, and how is it gonna fit in there anyway? So you see this new leaf right here, and then you see some of the older ones, and it really does make you wonder how big is this thing gonna get. I think they look so amazing when they're coming in. A lot of the times they're a completely different color than the more mature leaves, and they start off teeny tiny, it just throws you off completely. This stem came in super long and it had like a little speck of a leaf on it that's just been sizing up over time. So the Anthurium is a good intermediate one depending on which one you get. By no means do I think all of them are going to be intermediate or easy. Some of them are really quite difficult for me. This is just in ambient humidity in my living room, which actually honestly gets pretty dry. I actually have never had any problems with this other than the fact that I ripped this leaf when I was bringing it home. But yeah, if you want to try your luck with the Anthurium, I definitely recommend going for a hybrid first, kind of trying your luck with that, and then just getting your feet wet in that area. Then you can move on to the next one. That is just sort of what has worked for me, and I'm never turning back now. This is my latest, not my greatest, but this is my latest Anthurium. It is the Forgetii, and I did a video on all my Anthuriums a little while back. You should go check it out. But in that video, these leaves were way smaller than this, and I have them in the back of my greenhouse cabinet. And I didn't realize until I was taking it out today that, wow, these leaves have gotten bigger. I love these clear pots because it allows me to really monitor the root system, and really it is a good way to tell if it needs water or not. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can tell by just looking at this that it's pretty moist inside and doesn't need water. When it starts breaking away from the pot and there's no like sweat marks in here, then I know that, okay, this is gonna need some water soon. So definitely recommend the clear pots also if you wanna take things up to the next level. But yeah, this is my Forgetii that I kind of forgot about, ironically enough. And I love it. Next is the Hoya. This is a Hoya that I've had for about 2 years now. But the Hoya is a really good one. The only reason I don't have it on the easy list or for beginners list is because it can be a little finicky sometimes, depending on which one you have. This one is generally carefree. It's not super fussy, but you do have some of the ones with smaller leaves that don't grow as quickly or just start losing leaves out of nowhere, even though you gave it all the love and care and attention that you possibly could. But anyway, so it can be tricky getting the right amount of light and watering down pat, but once you do that, it's kind of smooth sailing from there. And I mentioned on my last video about trailing plants how amazing these look when they're trailing. Obviously I have this one up on a trellis, but I do have another one just like this one that I propagated. It's not as big and full as this one, but it still looks great, I think. Here's another great Hoya. This is the Australis Lisa, and it doesn't need to be repotted yet, which is a plus. But did I mention you guys that these flower? So do I need to say anything else about it? I have it in terracotta, which is going to allow it to dry out faster, and I don't have it in very dense soil, so that's another factor. These can tolerate you missing a watering or two more than some other plants, so I feel like this is, again, a good intermediate one. And I really just had to show you this one right here because look how big this leaf got. I couldn't figure out why this one wasn't doing anything for so long, so I took it out the soil, which was completely dry, by the way. Took it out the soil, put it in some pond in this little plastic cup, and it's pushed out this leaf since. So I think that they really like pond. One day I'm gonna have to do a complete Hoya video because I feel like I have so many of them that I wanna show you guys. That's gonna do it for today's video, you guys. As always, thank you so much for joining me and listening to me rant on and on about my plants. Let me know, do you guys have any of the plants that I mentioned on today's list? And if so, do you consider them to be intermediate? Because I know I'm not the only person. Also, if you say anything to me about ferns, I'm blocking you. I'm just kidding. Anyway, you guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!